Welcome everyone to Coin New Yen Review channel. Before we dive into today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share so more people can discover us. Enjoy the show. I never dreamed that Miss Golden Circle would be so oblivious. He held an engagement banquet with his childhood sweetheart behind my back. After that engagement banquet, this boyfriend reeking of poverty from head to toe hadn't bothered him for months. I hadn't even shown my face at the company. He couldn't help but curiously ask his assistant where Lin Tianqing had gone, why I hadn't been coming to work lately. The assistant's eyes flickered with surprise as he addressed Mr. Bai. I was stunned that he didn't know, since I caused a scene at his engagement banquet and was thrown out by the bodyguards. I was too ashamed to show up at work. I had resigned long ago. I heard not long ago my sister passed away from a heart condition. It felt like poetic justice for a wretched man like me. My girlfriend Bai Ningbing turned pale in an instant. He hadn't realized that on the day he got engaged to his childhood friend, I was genuinely seeking his help for my sister's illness, not deliberately trying to ruin his event. My girlfriend, despite her immense wealth, never bought me a single gift in our 7 years together. After accepting my proposal, she immediately returned the diamond ring I bought, claiming the 99 yuan marriage registration fee was too expensive and called it off, yet turned around and registered with her childhood sweetheart and booked the city's grandest 5-star hotel for their engagement banquet. My sister, fresh from a heart transplant, couldn't handle the shock and had a relapse. I knelt before the world, begging my girlfriend to return the wages I'd handed over for years to cover my sister's medical expenses. But she, arm in arm with her childhood sweetheart, pretended not to know me, claiming he wasn't some charity tycoon, and had the bodyguards throw me out. Later, I watched helplessly as my sister died on New Year's Eve. Amid the sound of firecrackers, I handled her affairs alone and accepted an offer from a major company that extended an olive branch. When invited to retrieve my passport while accompanying her childhood friend to visit relatives, my girlfriend, in high spirits, thought I was playing hard to get, generously declared for the first time that I could stop pretending, assuming my sister was fine, offering to make it up with a wedding, to let her have her moment of pride. He didn't know. From the moment my sister died, I had decided I no longer wanted him. As I picked up my passport, a slender, pale hand snatched it from my grasp. I wondered what he was searching for so intently that he didn't even notice this lady's return. My girlfriend Bai Ningbing had just come back from outside, her nose red from the cold. Upon realizing it was a passport, her once confident lips flattened, her delicate brows furrowed slightly. I asked what he needed a passport for. Was he planning to leave the country? Hadn't I told him that Zifan's family was pressuring him, and registering with him was just to appease them, promising we'd quietly divorce later? I didn't even glance up, coldly snatching the passport back. He clenched his cold fingers. In the past, when he returned, I would always ask if he was cold, preparing a hot water bottle or warm water for him. But today, I was utterly indifferent. He tiptoed closer, his breath carrying the chill of the outdoors. His gaze locked onto me, Lin Tianqing. I seemed to have changed too much. I didn't even consider how many high society people were watching back then. If word got to his mother, we'd both be in trouble. I gave a self-deprecating smile. To him, I was just a toy not worth showing off. I pried his hand off, but he clung to me again. His cool fingertips grazed my cheekbone. Grinning, he teased, "Oh my, those lousy bodyguards were too rough," scratching up my handsome Lin's face. He vowed to dock their wages entirely. In the past, no matter how angry I was, his relentless pestering would always make me forgive. Not this time. 7 days ago at the engagement banquet, under Bai Ningbing's orders, the bodyguards not only threw me out but gave me a brutal beating, calling me a toad lusting after a swan, saying Master Zhang and Miss Bai were a perfect match, and that I was nothing. Passers-by pointed and mocked me. Despite having hands and feet, I begged like a pauper. My dignity was long gone. Seeing I was still upset, Bai Ningbing finally played her trump card. She pulled out a pink butterfly hair clip, waving it at me, telling me not to use Bingyu again. to trick her with the surgery excuse, to grab her attention, saying it was meaningless. Bingyu, my sister who depended on me, suffered from congenital heart disease. She had undergone a heart transplant recently. She said she wanted to see me and Bai Ningbing get married, to offer her blessings first. But what she saw was Bai Ningbing marrying another man, and collapsed on the spot. The doctor told me only 100,000 yuan for surgery could give Bingyu a chance to live. On New Year's Eve, I begged everyone I could, but my calls were either rejected or I was cursed as bad luck. Amid the firecrackers, 13-year-old Bingyu passed away in her prime, leaving me alone, thinking of Bingyu's pale face. My heart felt like it was being torn apart. I didn't take the hair clip Bai Ningbing offered. Coldly addressing Bai Ningbing, I said we should break up. Before those 3 words could fully escape, Bai Ningbing interrupted. Enough. These past few days with Bingyu's New Year, I must be short on cash. He casually transferred me 200 yuan, saying it was for Bingyu's supplements. No need for an IOU. It was laughable. He feared I was a gold digger, demanding I hand over my wages, approving my pocket money. Every time he sent me money, he required an IOU. In 7 years of dating, I somehow owed Bai Ningbing a mountain of debt. I used to think it was because his family ran a company, making him sensitive about money, indulging his demands with affection, but his frugality seemed reserved only for me. He could spend lavishly on Zhang Xiaofan buying him luxury cars, or purchase villas without blinking, each time making headlines. Where the money was, so was his love. Snapping back to reality, I immediately returned the 200 yuan, coldly saying it wasn't needed. Bai Ningbing finally looked at me seriously, as if realizing something. She sighed, was it too little? Promising to hold a wedding with me, to let my sister have her moment of pride. Calling us siblings vain. That word stung painfully, but I forced myself to hear it. For 7 years, I only wanted the normal joy of exchanging gifts and living a simple life of strolling together. But he accused me of vanity and climbing, saying the money I relied on didn't require a wedding, since we weren't even a couple. Bai Ningbing's refined face collapsed, showing the familiar expression of disdain. Just then the door was knocked. Bai Ningbing and I turned to open it. The next second I heard his delighted voice, asking why he had come. I glanced and saw Zhang Xiaofan at the door, wearing a matching couple's outfit with Bai Ningbing. He reached out, fondly ruffling Bai Ningbing's hair, saying his friends were here today, wanting to see what their sister-in-law looked like, asking if she'd spend another day with him. Looking past Bai Ningbing, he deliberately provoked me, Lin Tianqing, saying I wouldn't be mad, right? Since I didn't get mad the other day. He intentionally interlocked fingers with Bai Ningbing, showing off their matching wedding rings. Bai Ningbing's eyes sparkled, quickly agreeing, saying what was there to be mad about, assuring she'd give him face. She grabbed her bag to leave. After 2 steps, as if just remembering me, she loosened her grip on Zhang Xiaofan's hand, came forward, kissed the corner of my lips, reassuring me this was the last time, promising to spend every day with me after. But Bai Ningbing, there was no future for us. I wiped my lips hard, watching them laugh and walk away, then turned, picking up the resignation letter I'd prepared. On the 7th day of the Lunar New Year, colleagues had returned to work, seeing me arrive late. They smirked knowingly, saying Lin Tianqing still dared to show up, that I was desperate for money, causing a scene at Mr. Bei's engagement, kneeling to beg him for money, shamelessly, acting high and mighty for following Mr. Bai for years, worse than a dog begging for food. I ignored their taunts, walking calmly into the HR office. The HR officer sneered, saying my application was already filed, waiting for Mr. Bei's approval. Then I could pack up and leave. No compensation for someone like me. I nodded, saying nothing and leaving the company. As the sun set in the west, just after the New Year, the streets were filled with couples and families, while I walked alone, overwhelmed by immense loneliness. My only family, my hard-earned career, and my love all gone. I walked slowly along the path I'd taken for 7 years between home and work, memories flooding back. In my first year of high school, my parents died in a car accident. The compensation was stolen by cruel relatives, leaving me and my newborn sister to fend for ourselves. Later, my 6-year-old sister met Bai Ningbing, a volunteer at the hospital, treating her like an older sister. That's how Bai Ningbing and I crossed paths. I was just a college student, working multiple jobs to survive. Bai Ningbing volunteered to care for my sister, often sending me updates about her. Whenever my sister's condition worsened, Bai Ningbing would hold me as I broke down, comforting me, promising to stay by my side, never abandoning me. Back then, she truly loved me, always wanting to be close. Even when I wore plain clothes, she'd hold my hand proudly, boasting to everyone about her handsome boyfriend, calling me the world's most perfect partner. But gradually her gaze turned suspicious, fearing I coveted her family's wealth, demanding I surrender all my wages for her to control. Her possessiveness grew stronger, even requesting 5 yuan for cigarettes made her paranoid. Until 3 months ago, when Zhang Xiaofan returned, she happily bought him a luxury car on credit and spent millions to display 7 words on the city's giant screens: "Welcome back, Zhang Xiaofan." That was the first night she didn't come home. When I brought the police to find her, she was drunk, clinging to Zhang Xiaofan's hand, whining. At 5 years old, he had put a red veil on her head, promising to marry her, asking why it didn't count. I felt chilled from head to toe. After she sobered up, we had a huge fight, arguing over who truly held her heart. She said I was overthinking, playing dumb on purpose. If not for Zhang Xiaofan, I wouldn't even have had a chance with her. Until Zhang Xiaofan posted about wanting to get married. That day, Bai Ningbing ended our Cold War, asking if I'd marry her. Laughably, I was overjoyed, thinking she'd finally chosen me, kneeling to propose, believing this absurd relationship was finally over. On the way back, I realized I'd walked far, far away. The noise of sister-in-law reached my ears. From a truth or dare game, no backing out. Our brother Zhang couldn't wait. At the KTV entrance nearby, Bai Ningbing, surrounded by a crowd, closed her eyes, shouting she loved Zhang Xiaofan. She shouted 3 times, her voice growing louder, more resolute, drawing onlookers from the entire street. Then shyly burrowed into Zhang Xiaofan's arms. He naturally held her close. The crowd cheered with the mood so high, urging them to just kiss. Bai Ningbing froze momentarily. Zhang Xiaofan quickly smoothed things over, saying not to go too far. His sister-in-law was shy. Before his words faded, in the interplay of light and shadow, I saw him suddenly lean closer, kissing briefly before pulling away. Bai Ningbing didn't close her eyes. Her gaze locked deeply onto Zhang Xiaofan, as if etching him into her heart, filled with happiness and contentment. As if that one kiss was enough, the next moment she seemed eager to explain. Her ears flushed red, hastily averting her gaze, saying she'd almost lost her balance. Before her words finished, she turned to Zhang Xiaofan, speaking quickly that it was late, time to go back. Her hand reached out, then withdrew. Her excessive caution said everything. We were only a dozen meters apart. The cold wind stung my body, shattering my already broken heart into dust once more. Bai Ningbing hurried along, head down, bumping right into me. She looked up, seeing my face. Her pupils shrank as she apologized. I cut her off, saying it was fine, then turned and walked away, opening my phone to book a ride. Behind me, I heard confused voices asking. That guy looked familiar. Wasn't he the beggar who knelt at your engagement, begging you for money? He didn't just steal from you, did he? You'd better check. To all these slanders against me, Bai Ningbing always stayed silent. Back home, I paid for the ride on my phone. The ticketing app popped up a message confirming my flight from Heishi to Houston, successfully booked, set to depart tomorrow at 3 p.m., advising me to plan accordingly. I sent a screenshot to the overseas company I'd been in touch with. The HR, without waiting for me to speak, excitedly said they couldn't wait to welcome me tomorrow. My expression softened. I grabbed my packed luggage and headed out, not wanting to stay in this house a second longer, only to run into Bai Ningbing. She frowned, slamming the door, asking where Lin Tianqing was going. Zhang Xiaofan, trailing behind, feigned concern, saying I shouldn't misunderstand. that Ningbing was just protecting his reputation, begging me not to fight with her or run away. I couldn't be bothered with their drama. I told Bai Ningbing we were done. She was about to scold me, but froze for a second at my words. Then why'd she shouted about breaking up, just because she and Z-Fan were playing along. I wanted to end things, asking if I still wanted a wedding. In her mind, she probably thought I was hopelessly in love, even using a wedding to threaten me. In the past, I might have fallen at her feet for it, dreaming of growing old together. Now, I only sneered at Bai Ningbing, saying we had no ties. What wedding was there to hold? No ties. Her face flushed with anger. A month ago, when I proposed, I didn't talk like this. I said I'd protect her forever, and bought her a diamond ring. She rummaged through her bag, trying to find that ring to throw in my face. I said calmly there was no need to look. She'd sold that ring to a pawnshop for 12,000 yuan, then bought Zhang Xiaofan a tie as a date gift. In 7 years of dating, all the gifts I scrimped and saved to buy her were mostly sold secondhand. She said they were too cheap to show off, and that since she was mine, I shouldn't be upset. Before I found her elfish ways cute, now they made me sick. She just didn't care about my love. Bai Ningbing's chest heaved with emotion. Her gaze swept the room, then faltered. No ring, nor any gifts I'd given her, or she'd given me. She couldn't continue. Her face grew grim, because she realized in this house, there wasn't a single thing proving we were a couple. Zhang Xiaofan gloated, stirring the pot, telling me Lin Tianxing to stop making a fuss, that I lived off Ningbing's money, and should be generous and ease her burdens. She was at a critical moment taking over the company, and I shouldn't cause trouble. His words only fueled her. She sneered that Z-Fan was right, telling me Lin Tianxing to stop being so short-sighted, promising to buy me anything once she inherited the company, ordering me to put down my luggage, or she'd cut off my living expenses. I let go of the suitcase and pulled out a box of IOS, addressing Bai Ningbing. For 7 years, she gave me 200 yuan a month for living and made me write 500 IOS for other expenses, totaling 20,000 yuan. My sister's surgery and treatment cost 300,000. I'd entrusted my salary card to her. 7 years of wages, at least 1 million. Now I asked her to return the remaining 680,000. Bai Ningbing furiously knocked over the box. Countless IOS fluttered down like snowflakes. She screamed that we'd been together 7 years. And in my heart, it wasn't worth a mere few 100,000, accusing me of trying to scam her. Her tone dripped with disdain and contempt, leaving my voice hoarse with pain. I faced Bai Ningbing. All this money was earned through my own hard labor, but I didn't expect him to explode with anger instantly. His complaints burst out ranting about money, money, money. Lin Tianxing seemed to care about nothing but money in his eyes. He asked why I couldn't be like Z-Fan, free from the pursuit of fame and fortune. He said Z-Fan never asked him for anything. He claimed his mother was right. Dating a poor man like me was a waste of time. We were never from the same world. He mocked my so-called earnings, asking if I was delusional. Without him, I'd be starving in the streets. He said it was all the salary he paid me. I gave a bitter smile. Zhang Xiaofan didn't need to fight or grab, because he already had everything. He just stood there doing nothing, and Bai Ningbing would offer him the best things, along with his whole heart served on a platter. Seeing my silence, Bai Ningbing snapped, fine. I could take my salary card back, Lin Tianxing. He wouldn't manage it for me anymore. The next second, Bai Ningbing hurled the bank card at my face. The card grazed my cheekbone. I touched it and found my hand smeared with red. Bai Ningbing panicked instantly, reaching out to touch my cheek, asking in a trembling voice if I was okay, Lin Tianxing. I gave a mocking smile, brushing his hand away, staring into his flustered eyes. I said coolly to Bai Ningbing, the rich young lady, wasn't he tired of playing house with a commoner? But I was done with the game. I picked up the bank card, grabbed my suitcase, and stepped over the IOS, the last proof of my connection with Bai Ningbing. He stood there dazed. As my hand rested on the doorknob, he snapped awake, blocking me, calling out to me, Lin Tianxing, asking if this was how I acted when angry. Admitting had spoken carelessly, I twisted the knob and walked out, never looking back. At the hotel front desk, I pulled out my salary card to pay, but the staff informed me the balance was insufficient. I apologized, then used the 20,000 yuan travel allowance from the overseas company, tossed my luggage in the hotel, and checked my bank records, only to find my card had been drained long ago. The transactions showed couples restaurants, couples suites, men's clothing stores. Bai Ningbing had never spent on anything couple-related with me, nor given me clothes. It was obvious who had spent it on. Just then, HR sent me a message, telling me Lin Tianxing if I was in a hurry, I could get Mr. Bai to sign off tomorrow morning. I replied with a simple okay, and slept soundly that night. The next morning, passing by the HR office, I saw Bai Ningbing's graceful figure. HR was busy processing Zhang Xiaofan's onboarding, phoning over Mr. Zhang, saying how good Mr. Bai was to him, calling them a perfect match. Zhang Xiaofan looked smug, sporting a vice president's badge, addressing Ningbing, asking if parachuting him in as VP would make people think he got in through connection, pointing out I'd been with him for 7 years, yet remained just a team leader. Bai Ningbing brushed it off, adjusting Zifan's cuffs, saying he was her husband. Who would dare gossip? Or was he unwilling to rely on her connections? They looked like a blissful newlywed couple. Since I'd run into Bai Ningbing, it saved me a trip. I handed him my resignation letter, asking Mr. Bai to sign it. Bai Ningbing's eyes lit up upon seeing me, moving slowly, but after glancing at the letter, he gave a disappointed mocking smile, calling it a dramatic quit, asking what I was pretending to be principled for, reminding me my sister had a heart condition, asking how much follow-up surgery and care would cost, saying my meager savings would run out in days, leaving me destitute. Zhang Xiaofan chimed in smugly, urging me Lin Tianxing not to ruin my sister's life over pride. An oblivious colleague added that Mr. Bai should know my sister had already passed away. I'd taken leave for it recently. Bai Ningbing froze. His fingers clutching the letter trembled. He asked what they meant. Looking at my calm expression, he suddenly faltered, asking why I hadn't told him. Seeing his evasive gaze, I recalled years ago, when Bai Ningbing gently read bedtime stories to Bingyu at her hospital bed, and how Bingyu, before passing, held my hand, tears streaming, saying she was sorry for pushing me to be with Sister Bai, calling him a liar. The piercing pain still lingered. I said coldly to Mr. Bai, it was just personal business. Did I need to report it to him? Zhang Xiaofan frowned, about to scold me for insolence. But the next second, Bai Ningbing suddenly dragged me out of HR. He looked around nervously, then gently slipped the resignation letter back into my hand. Stepping closer, he smoothed the wrinkles on my suit, softening for once, asking me Lin Tianxing not to act rashly, suggesting we talk properly afterward. Just then Zhang Xiaofan flung the door open, calling out to Ningbing, saying his mother-in-law called with urgent business, asking her to take it. Bai Ningbing hurriedly turned, looking a bit like a fleeing mess. I shook my head, about to leave, when Zhang Xiaofan blocked me with his foot, telling me Tianxing to hurry and clear out my office. He was moving in. The VP's office wasn't the same as a team leader's. I knew he was deliberately pushing me out, but it didn't matter. I was leaving anyway. Some things needed to be packed. As I gathered my belongings, the office door was suddenly knocked. An auction house employee stood there, holding an exquisite gift box, smiling, asking if I was Bai Ningbing's partner, saying this was a watch my girlfriend had bid on for me at an auction, asking me to try it on. I stood frozen. Was this some breakup gift? The crowd didn't catch the employee's words. Seeing the logo on the box, they whispered among themselves. It was a Patek Philippe, worth at least 200,000. No wonder Lin Tianxing was resigning. Had hooked a rich patron. Before I could speak, the employee took out the watch, asking me to extend my hand. Just as the strap was about to clasp, Zhang Xiaofan interrupted, saying he knew my family was poor Lin Tianxing, but he couldn't believe I'd steal his watch under his name, claiming he was Ningbing's true partner, asking if I'd gone too far. Zhang Xiaofan had appeared out of nowhere, looking at me with disdain. The auction employee panicked, apologizing profusely. Zhang Xiaofan waved it off, saying it was fine. Crocodile tears for me, saying Lin Tianqing might've been tempted by something nice, which was understandable, but the company couldn't tolerate such petty theft. I knew Bai Ningbing would never be so generous to me. The crowd urged Zhang Xiaofan to try on the watch, saying Mr. Bai was so good to Mr. Zhang, a total doting maniac, calling me Lin Tianqing thick-skinned as a city wall, shameless enough to impersonate, suggesting they kick me out without hesitation. I gave a bitter smile, about to grab my box and leave, when Bai Ningbing's voice cut through, asking what was going on. Lin Tianqing. The crowd rallied for Zhang Xiaofan, telling Mr. Bai that Lin Tianqing had sticky fingers, stealing right in front of Mr. Zhang, pointing out the watch was worth at least $1 million, suggesting they call the police, saying I didn't deserve to stay at the company. Zhang Xiaofan gave a gentle smile, deliberately showing off the watch, softly saying not to spread rumors, telling Ningbing he loved the gift. Bai Ningbing's face darkened. I lowered my eyes, waiting for him to call me vain, or accuse me of being a gold digger, but he sharply told Zhang Xiaofan to take it off. Those 3 words, take it off, left everyone stunned. No one dared breathe. Their eyes darted between me, Bai Ningbing and Zhang Xiaofan. They couldn't have dreamed that Bai Ningbing would, at this moment, demand her husband remove the watch. It was a slap to Zhang Xiaofan's face. Even I looked at Bai Ningbing twice, noticing his serious expression not feigned, leaving me puzzled. Zhang Xiaofan, who'd been faintly smiling, turned pale, then flushed. He shot me a vicious glance, but under Bai Ningbing's sharp gaze, he raised the hand with the watch, fumbling with the clasp. Seeing him dawdle, Bai Ningbing repeated, to take the watch off and return it to me. Lin Tianqing, shocking the crowd even more. Had they all been misled by Zhang Xiaofan, misjudging me? Zhang Xiaofan didn't hesitate this time, swiftly removing the watch, tossing it into the box, trying to save face. He kept his faint smile, helplessly calling her little princess, saying the auction employee had just delivered it, insisting he hadn't stolen it. With the old Bai Ningbing, the words little princess would have melted her into compliance, agreeing to anything Zhang Xiaofan said. But this time, Bai Ningbing was unusually cautious, handing me the watch, guiltily saying to me, Lin Tianqing, that had specially bid on it for me, apologizing for letting someone else wear it first. Noticing the crowd's piercing stares, he seemed to snap awake, making up an excuse. Bai Ningbing's hand clenched into a fist. He coughed lightly, saying I was a loyal employee of many years, and this was my year-end gift. I gave a mocking smile. No matter the occasion, in Bai Ningbing's heart, others' opinions always mattered most. I just picked up my packed box and walked toward the door, telling Mr. Bai it wasn't necessary. Despite following him for years, we had no personal ties. I couldn't accept such an expensive gift. Seeing my indifference, Bai Ningbing's face changed drastically, probably thinking I was leaving right then. He grabbed my arm in a panic, saying my resignation wasn't approved. Lin Tianqing, asking what right I had to leave. Zhang Xiaofan gently took Bai Ningbing's other hand, softly reminding her that she loved talent he knew. But since Lin Tianqing was set on leaving, they shouldn't force me to stay. With everyone watching, urging her to calm down, Bai Ningbing's grip on me loosened. Her eyes showed a struggle. Finally, she softly said to me, Lin Tianqing, hadn't we agreed to talk properly after work? I frowned, seeing her like this. I couldn't understand what she meant. I wasn't vain enough to think she still had feelings for me, or couldn't bear to let me go. Most likely, she wanted to keep me as a backup, to have her cake and eat it too. But I was awake now, done being her spare tire. So I set down the box and pulled out the resignation letter again, telling Mr. Bai that Mr. Zhang was right, asking him to sign it quickly, saying I wasn't suited for the company. Zhang Xiaofan urged, telling Ningbing to listen to me, that a forced melon wasn't sweet. But Bai Ningbing was unexpectedly enraged. Her eyes blazed, as if she'd been insulted. The next second, she snatched my resignation letter, tearing it to shreds. Saying word by word, "Fine, Lin Tianqing." My plan had succeeded. Admitting I was her boyfriend, begging me to stay. The crowd was utterly shocked. After all, in their minds, I was just a lowlife, clinging to Bai Ningbing like a leech. I gave a sardonic smile, telling Mr. Bai not to joke, pointing out she was married to Mr. Zhang, engaged to Mr. Zhang, asking how her words made Mr. Zhang feel. Zhang Xiaofan's face was truly grim. Oddly, I felt a thrill. Before, it was always me watching Zhang Xiaofan, flaunting his power in front of me, making me choke with frustration. Now he finally tasted it too. Bai Ningbing's expression was equally dark. She gave a hollow laugh, asking where I could go without her Lin Tianqing, pointing out I was over 30, asking which company would want me, telling me not to be ungrateful. I glanced at the office clock. This mess had dragged on until 11 a.m. If I kept arguing, I'd miss my flight. So I issued a final ultimatum to Mr. Bai. I'd wanted to part amicably, but if he forced me to stay, I'd have to take it to labor arbitration. Bai Ningbing looked utterly disbelieving, never expecting me to be so resolute about leaving. A stern commanding voice came from behind, asking who was talking about arbitration. Bai Ningbing turned and trembled, like a cat facing a tiger, instinctively calling out respectfully "Mom," asking why she was here. Bai Ningbing inherited her mother's genes. The two looked 70% alike. Bai's mother, well-maintained, in a sharp business suit, looked barely 40, though faint lines at her eyes and lips betrayed her true age. Hearing Bai Ningbing's address, Bai's mother's brow furrowed deeper, sternly asking if she needed to be told how to address her in the company. Bai Ningbing immediately shrank like a quail, addressing her as Chairman Bai. Zhang Xiaofan's lips curved up, warmly taking Bai's mother's arm, calling her "Mom," asking why she'd come to the company. Bai's mother's expression softened, smiling, saying she'd sensed something off with Ningbing during their call, thinking something had gone wrong with her new VP role, so she had to check. Zhang Xiaofan seized the chance, phoning over her, saying he knew she cared for him most. I understood. Zhang Xiaofan was deliberately cozying up to Bai's just to stake his claim, bluntly showing he was Bai Ningbing's husband, the man of the company. The crowd all but forgot me, praising how decisive Chairman Bai was, leaving a lasting impression. My lips curled in a mocking smile. I picked up my box and walked out. Bai's mother suddenly called out to me, "Young man." Her presence was commanding, her gaze sharp, coolly saying I hadn't given a month's notice for resignation. Even arbitration wouldn't favor me. I interrupted with a bitter smile, saying Chairman Bai misunderstood. I wasn't here to extort them. I just wanted to resign quickly, wanting nothing else. Bai's mother tilted her head toward Bai Ningbing, who kept her head down, silent, looking guilty, as if realizing something. Bai's mother smiled, seeming open-minded, saying Ningbing was new to running the company and lacked finesse, declaring I could leave now. Bai Ningbing suddenly grabbed her mother's arm, pleading, begging her not to let me go. Bai's mother's face turned icy, firmly stating the matter was settled, ordering everyone to disperse and return to their duties. Her chest heaved as she called out to me, "Young man," asking me to come with her, saying I didn't need to squeeze into the crowd since my resignation was finalized. I didn't want to defy her, so I followed to the meeting room. Bai Ningbing and Zhang Xiaofan trailed in. Bai Ningbing looked hopeful, asking her mother if she was reconsidering, but the next second, Bai's mother kicked her in the shin, sending her crashing to her knees with a thud. Bai Ningbing clutched her knee, her face pale, cold sweat pouring, yet she dared not move. Bai's mother sharply scolded her, asking if she'd gone mad. Bai Ningbing reminding her how she'd begged, even threatening self-harm, to bring Zifan back and marry him. Now that she'd married Zifan, she was still entangled with someone else, accusing her of twotiming. She shoved Bai Ningbing, ordering her to apologize to Zifan and swear never to do it again. I gave a bitter smile. So in the 7 years we were together, Bai Ningbing had never once given up on being with Zhang Xiaofan. From start to finish, I was just a pastime to her. Zhang Xiaofan feigned concern, offering to help her up, telling Bai's mother it was fine, blaming himself for returning too late. assuring her Ningbing would come around. But Bai Ningbing, lips trembling, said it wasn't like that. Not like that, mom. Saying I Lin Tianqing had been with her for 7 years. Her words were incoherent, making no sense. Perhaps even she didn't understand why she was so persistent today. She was already rightfully with the one Shed always wanted, so why was she still unsatisfied? Watching this scene, my heart was unexpectedly calm. I knew Bei's mother was putting on this act in front of me, not to play the strict mother, disciplining her wayward daughter. Sure enough, the next second, Bei's mother pulled out a checkbook, wrote a figure and handed it to me. Though she was petite, her face carried an air of towering arrogance. I was told to stop pretending to resist, to take the money and stay as far from her daughter as possible, never to return, leaving Bai Ningbing stunned. I silently counted the zeros on the check in million. A full 10 million. If Bingyu had gotten this money when she was gravely ill, how wonderful it would have been. But it was too late. I gently took the check. Bai Ningbing's gaze dimmed inch by inch, as if all her strength had drained away. But I only tore the check in half and placed it on the table, saying lightly to Chairman Bai, it wasn't needed as I'd already bought a ticket abroad. I was leaving today and would never return. Bei's mother looked surprised, but quickly composed herself and nodded. She tapped on her phone, and my phone pinged with a system notification, confirming my resignation status. As I walked out, everyone's eyes instinctively turned to me. Bei's mother forcibly pulled Bai Ningbing along. With a practiced smile, she said Ningbing had been clashing with Zifan recently, and if she said anything strange, she hoped no one would spread it. It was all a misunderstanding. The crowd nodded thoughtfully, showing understanding. Seizing the moment, I went downstairs, grabbed my luggage, and took a cab to the airport. I arrived with 10 minutes to board. I let out a long breath. Though I'd wasted some time, everything was still on track. But then, my phone was bombarded with calls from Bai Ningbing. I hung up and she called again, seeming desperate, but I blocked her number. The next second, her texts flooded in, asking where I was, which airport, which flight, saying Shed come find me, telling me to stay put and wait. I found it baffling, even irritating, so I sent a text back to Bai Ningbing, saying it was over, and blocked her. After waiting a bit at the airport, the boarding announcement came. There were plenty of passengers on this flight. I dragged my suitcase, queuing at the back. Just before passing the gate, a commotion erupted behind me. I instinctively looked where everyone's eyes were fixed. Then a petite figure crashed into my arms. Bai Ningbing clung tightly to my waist. She seemed to have run frantically, panting heavily, looking up at me. She smiled brightly, calling out to me Lin Tianqing, suggesting we elope. Her face was flushed from running, her hair scattered over her shoulders, looking disheveled. In the deep winter, she radiated cold. That face I once couldn't get enough of, now in my arms, felt utterly repulsive. I frowned and pushed her away. Keeping my voice low, I told Bai Ningbing to wake up. She had a husband and a career, to stop making a scene. Bai Ningbing's mind was clouded by adrenaline, clinging to me again, like an octopus. She said no, Lin Tianqing. She didn't want Zhang Xiaofan, or the company, or any inheritance, urging us to elope, to a place her mother couldn't find. The crowd, unaware, thought we were a couple facing a long-distance romance, smirking playfully, saying my girlfriend couldn't bear to let me go, suggesting I take her with me. That career mattered, but so did love. Good women like her were rare. Bai Ningbing blushed, her voice softening, calling out to me Lin Tianqing, saying she was so scared when I left, thinking she'd never see me again. Her sweet words were moving. The old me might have been touched to pieces, but now I was calm, asking if she wasn't afraid of her mother, whose influence could find her, and what she'd do then. Bai Ningbing roared like a trapped animal, telling me not to mention her, calling her a crazy woman, blaming her for marrying a gold digger and taking it out on her, saying if not for her brainwashing that no one loved her, only her money, she wouldn't have lost me. She pulled out a black card, offering it to me like a treasure, saying Shed wanted to give it to me long ago, promising Lin Tianqing no more holding back. begging for one more chance to love me. I knew Bai Ningbing's madness today was the result of years of her controlling mother's oppression, finally erupting. I tried to heal her for years, but couldn't free her from her inner shadows, or open her heart to me. Shaking my head, I sighed, tucking the card back into her coat, then picked up my phone to call the police. Just then, a group stormed into the airport, 1056, led by Bei's mother, with Zhang Xiaofan behind, followed by a dozen black-clad bodyguards, eyeing Bai Ningbing menacingly. She clung to me at first, but one look from her mother, a flick of her finger, made her tremble and obediently walk over. Bei's mother gave me a cold smile, calling me Lin Tianqing, saying Ningbing had been spoiled by her, asking me not to mind and wishing me a happy trip abroad. I knew she was hinting I should never return. Looking at the submissive Bai Ningbing led by Zhang Xiaofan, I suddenly found her pitiful. Her rebellion was so powerless before her mother. I said goodbye to Bai Ningbing and turned, passing through the gate to board the plane abroad. My suitcase held Bingyu's ashes. Gazing at the city I'd lived in for over 30 years, I waved farewell, gently touching the suitcase. I seemed to hear Bingyu say wherever I was, that was her home. Upon landing, HR warmly welcomed me, finding a perfect spot to lay Bingyu to rest. The female CEO offered me $1 million yuan annual salary. Unlike Bai Ningbing, this CEO had climbed her way up through her own strength. Renowned in the industry, she looked at me, smiling faintly, saying 3 years ago at a banquet, she knew I'd join her team one day. I threw myself into work. The next time I saw Bai Ningbing was 6 months later, dressed in a business suit, red lipstick on, have one on. She walked out of the meeting room with CEO Ryan Liu smiling. She gave a slight smile, asking why. General Manager Lin seemed surprised, saying she was here to sign a contract, a 50 million yuan deal. Ryan Liu, laughing, asked me to entertain Bai Ningbing. I frowned deeply, asking Bai Ningbing what she was really doing here. She smiled faintly, sliding a contract toward me. I snapped that it wasn't my responsibility. Bai Ningbing laughed, proudly handing me a pen, urging me to read it carefully. I froze, staring at the contract. It was a company transfer agreement. I shot up from my chair. Bai Ningbing laughed, her smile chilling me. She hugged me, seeming blissful, saying she'd endured disgust, acting as a couple with Zhang Xiaofan for 6 months, to oust her mother, asking if I now saw her true heart, handing over the company. I thought she was insane. I shoved the contract back at her, saying we had no relationship, and to stop disrupting my peaceful life. Because of this, I went home from work visibly upset, until a blaring horn startled me. The next second I was shoved to the ground. The world spun, and sound overwhelmed everything. It took a while for my senses to return. I blinked, and saw a car accident nearby. A petite dark-haired woman lay in a pool of blood, her face blooded, but I recognized her instantly. Bai Ningbing, as the ringing in my ears grew louder. I stumbled over to check her breathing, weak but present. Thankfully, a hospital was nearby. The ambulance arrived quickly. The police took my statement. They said the driver was drunk, veering onto the sidewalk. Bai Ningbing had pushed me out of the way, and was hit herself. In the hospital, Bai Ningbing's lips were pale, her head wrapped in thick bandages. The doctor said she was lucky. With only a mild concussion and exhaustion, she'd recover with rest. Out of humanitarian duty, I took leave to care for Bai Ningbing until she woke. Truthfully, she'd saved my life. No one could be unmoved by that. But after all she'd done to chase Zhang Xiaofan, and finally being with him, why was she going to such lengths for me? As I pondered, her eyelashes fluttered and she woke. Before I could speak, she grabbed my hand, calling out to me Lin Tianqing, saying she'd divorced Zhang Xiaofan. It just hadn't hit the news, begging me not to avoid her. Her emotions surged, her head throbbing painfully, eyes tightly shut, but her hands clung to me, as if afraid I'd vanish. I found it laughable, asking if she treated marriage like a game. I tucked her hands under the blanket. Amid her panicked expression, I said I was getting a doctor to check on her. She relaxed, looking at me with pitiful puppy-like eyes. But I didn't get a doctor. I left the room and called Zhang Xiaofan. The moment he answered, I heard his gritted teeth accusing me Lin Tianqing of gloating, saying I shouldn't think Ningbing's Catan mouse game made me the bifanless golden son-in-law, telling me to dream on. How ironic that he thought everyone was after status like him. I only said Bai Ningbing had a car accident and told him to come get her. Then I fetched the doctor, who said Bai Ningbing was recovering well and could be discharged in 2 days. Bai Ningbing pouted, unhappily saying once she was well, Lin Tianqing wouldn't care for her anymore. Now that I was being kind like before, she didn't want to leave, joking she should let the car paralyze her. Hearing her crazed words, I found them absurd. She used to throw tantrums, but at 30 how was she still so childish? I handed her a peeled orange, telling her not to jinx herself. Her mother wouldn't let me off if she was paralyzed. She looked disappointed, picking at the orange peel, placing it on the table like a weapon. I said nothing, just grabbed my briefcase, coolly saying Zhang Xiaofan would pick her up tonight, and that I was going to work. I walked out, hearing Bai Ningbing angrily shout my name, calling me heartless. Zhang Xiaofan was quick to act. That evening, I met him at the hospital for the handoff, but he punched me the moment I entered, his eyes bloodshot, saying Tianqing, nothing good happened when I was near Ningbing, asking why I lingered like a ghost. Seeing Bai Ningbing nervously scramble off the bed to stand by me, and Zhang Xiaofan's indignant face, I smirked mockingly. Were they acting out a drama in front of me? I could play the devoted lover. A reunion story was nice, but I wasn't the backup guy. I kicked Zhang Xiaofan in the stomach, throwing Bai Ningbing's medical chart at him, coldly telling Zhang Xiaofan to manage his own wife. I thought Zhang Xiaofan would take Bai Ningbing home, and soon, her interest in me would fade. Once she got used to my absence, she'd stopped coming, but she camped out daily under my company building, with Zhang Xiaofan buying her hot coffee to warm her hands, becoming a bizarre spectacle. Today was even more absurd. A Lincoln Park downstairs, Bai's mother had come, yet Bai Ningbing refused to leave, drawing a crowd of onlookers. CEO Ryan Liu seeing this laughed, telling me to handle it, to protect the company's image. I went downstairs to face Bai Ningbing. In the biting cold, Bai Ningbing shoved her mother away, rubbing her cold fingers, joyfully asking me Lin Tianqing if I'd forgiven her. I only said Chairman Bai was here, telling her to go back with her. Bai Ningbing's face fell. Bai's mother's dark eyes were fathomless, calmly threatening Bai Ningbing, saying she didn't think she'd be ousted so easily. If she didn't want the company, she could stay, and she'd find someone else to run it. Zhang Xiaofan panicked, tugging Bai Ningbing's sleeve, pleading with her, saying it was time to go back after so long, that Lin Tianqing wasn't worth it. Bai Ningbing's eyes flickered with hesitation, glancing at me. She stubbornly said if I didn't want her, she'd give up her inheritance, wanting only to be with me Lin Tianqing. Unlike my biological father, who wouldn't care if I was rich or poor. Those words struck Bai's mother's sore spot. Back then she'd misjudged a gold digger, who cheated and nearly poisoned her and her daughter. For the first time I saw the usually composed Bai's mother snarl. She sneered fine, telling her not to regret it, calling Zifan to leave with her, ignoring her. Zhang Xiaofan hesitated but followed Bai's mother. I looked at Bai Ningbing, left alone, feeling a headache coming on. Bai's mother was true to her word, freezing all of Bai Ningbing's bank cards. With no choice, she sold her luxury items. Her poor English limited her to menial jobs like dishwashing, seeing her hands grow frostbitten, barely able to bend. I kept urging her, saying I no longer loved her, telling her to return home, but she misunderstood, smiling sweetly, saying she knew I meant well, insisting she wasn't suffering, determined to fight, saying her mother, with only one child, would eventually give in, suggesting I return with her, and she'd transfer all her assets to me. I had to admit her imagination was wild. The old me would have indulged her like a child, but now I saw how selfish and terrifying this overgrown child was. At this point, I'd done my duty. I stopped meddling in by Ningbing's light, focusing on my work. My outstanding performance led Ryan Liu to promote me to vice president. With a 5 million yuan salary, the company showered me with congratulations. On my promotion day, Bai Ningbing waited downstairs, cautiously offering me a tie, wishing me Lin Tianqing a happy birthday, saying she'd spent a month's salary on it, asking me to try it on. I gently took it. Bai Ningbing's eyes lit up inch by inch, her lips curving uncontrollably. Then I turned to a passing colleague, offering to sell the tie for 50. The colleague laughed, saying it was a pricey brand, and agreed to buy it. I handed it over for the cash. Bai Ningbing's face turned ashen. I gave a mocking laugh, saying this was how she'd treated me for 7 years, asking if she thought we could have a future. Bai Ningbing looked at me, tears streaming, and ran off. The next day I heard from her restaurant that she'd returned home soon after news of her divorce broke, but she never had another scandal. Becoming a female CEO everyone sought to curry favor with, and our lives became parallel lines never to cross again.